Thank you for your attention.
Our next delegation is Carole Clinche. Carole, would you like to come down, please, and give us your address and go ahead? You have about 8 minutes, including question period.
So just press enter to advance or the space bar. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Mayor, and Council. I'm the author of about more than 10 reviews submitted to various government agencies. I've also authored 2 peer-reviewed papers last year on fluoride toxicity in the reproductive system. Reading the report brought this quote to mind. It's the editor of the Chemical and Engineering News. Nothing makes a report more suspect than when no verifiable references are included and the reader is tacitly expected to accept the discussion and conclusions on faith alone. This report fails to inform Council that Brantford may be in violation of federal law. It's called the Natural Health Products Legislation. It's just been tabled and in the Gazette, and it's under the Food and Drug Act. This report also includes a number of errors. I will only be able to touch on a couple of them, and of fact and errors of omission. And this report also presents conclusions regarding the Brantford trial which are scientifically invalid. One correction I would like to make is that they mentioned that the Stratford fluoride levels were somehow optimal, when in fact the Stratford fluoride levels exceed the maximum acceptable contaminant level according to Health Canada. So I would consider that not to be an optimal level. There's a longitudinal Iowa fluoride study that's very prestigious, and they have recently stated that the use of the word optimal is no longer valid. So, as I said, a second correction I would like to make is that the report suggests that the MAC is actually a maximum acceptable concentration. That's incorrect. The MAC refers to the contaminant fluoride, because fluoride is a contaminant when found in drinking water and in air. Now, when fluoride is added to something like water or toothpaste, and it has a health claim, it's now considered to be a natural health product according to this very new legislation. So the assumptions of this legislation are that the unregulated health products are potentially dangerous, and therefore they should be regulated, and they should be regulated by Health Canada. They are the body responsible for this regulation. At this time, none of these products are regulated, and according to the legislation, if they're not regulated, they're not legal. And obeying this law seems to be intuitively sensible because regulation protects the public. It's logical. A quote here from Arvid Carlson. Dr. Carlson is a Nobel laureate, and his comments were that fluoridation is an obsolete practice. It goes against all principles of modern pharmacology. The use of the public drinking water supply to administer the same dose of fluoride to everyone, from the infant to those who consume copious amounts of water, such as diabetics, goes against all principles of science because individuals respond very differently to one and the same dose. And there are huge variations in the consumption of this drug. The book by Sutton has been mentioned. It was peer-reviewed by the department head of mathematical statistics, and it was also peer-reviewed by the dean of the Faculty of Dental Science. And they outline many of the inappropriate things that were done during these trials, the poor design, the arithmetical errors, the misleading comments, the conclusions that were not based on the actual data. The trials were not well done. Another body who commented on how poorly done these trials were. And here's a professor at the University of California, Davis, who actually offers a course in statistical frauds. And he says that these fluoridation trials are especially rich in fallacies, improper design, invalid use of statistical methods, omissions of contrary data, etc. And hebitude, I had to look that one up in the dictionary. It's more than 7 letters, so you can't use it on your next Scrabble game. Now, the 40 to 50 years follow-up was only done in one of the 4 trials. It was the Kingston and Newburgh trial. And what we found was that there was absolutely no benefit in the cavity rates in the fluoridated community. But there was definite harm shown. The dental sclerosis was significantly higher. There's an increased cortical bone defects, which is a precursor to bone cancer. And there was an early onset of puberty for the women in the fluoridated community. The Tooth decay, I see we've got this blocked out, okay. It was just a chart showing that there was no statistically significant difference between the cavity rates between the two communities. And there are just two new papers that have been published last month showing that in the two of the trials, the data was loaded into a bar graph showing that there was an increase of heart attacks and increase of arteriosclerosis due to fluoride, and we're understanding the mechanisms for why that's occurring. Now, the national studies show that there was a statistically significant decline in cavities in both the control city of Sarnia and the control city of Stratford and Brantford. The report that you have received only indicated there was a decline in the Brantford and Stratford, but that's not the case. It was a significant decline in all three cities. The 60% reduction in cavities also cited in the staff report was interesting when you look at the actual raw data of the papers. The cavity rates actually fluctuated wildly from year to year. And there was actually absolutely no agreement between examiners as to what the rate of cavities was. But what they did was they picked one age group in 1 year because that showed the highest number. Now, in science, this is called statistical fraud when you cherry pick the data to get the result that you want. And this has also been blocked out. The Brantford and Sarnia were not well matched for cavity rates when the trial began. We know that there was a huge difference between Sarnia and Brantford in cavity rates, and we know why. Brantford had fewer cavities because Brantford had better dental services, and they had more free dental services than virtually any other city in Canada. So to state that these differences in cavity rates were due to artificial fluoridation is scientifically just incorrect, and it is grossly misleading. Now, one comment was made about the National Sanitation Foundation. Their job is not to determine the safety of these chemicals. This is a quote from the National Sanitation Foundation, and they say, we don't evaluate the safety of these chemicals. That's not their job.
Ms. Clinche, you have a minute left.
Okay, thank you very much. And in 2004 deposition under oath, a manager at NSF stated that they are not following their own standard 60 procedures. A mayor in Tennessee, in a recent letter, asked 35 NSF certified suppliers of fluorosilicates if they complied with NSF regulations. None of them were. And another Boston News just last month, they contacted a fluorosilicate supplier who said that they were certified by NSF, but when they contacted NSF, they said, nope, this company's never been certified. So I would just like to say that as stewards of this city, this council really cannot accept this report at this point because it is really full of significant errors of fact and significant errors of omission. And it does put the city at risk of consequences for violating federal law. This is being discussed now throughout Quebec and in Ontario. And that's all. Thank you,
Ms. Clinche,
Mr.
thank you
Chair.
very much for your presentation. We are out of time.